The world we live in is like no other at any other point of history. Current generations are genuinely confused people who believes the government is good. They fail to realize the system in place. A system has provided them with a scripted school of thought that has corrupted their historical view. The public school system, news, and Hollywood have drilled a unified message into society. That message is simple. Be a good citizen, do what you're told, guns are wrong, the government is good, and the only free speech that is allowed is one that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. We are taught never to question authority and always obey our masters. The United States was founded to protect human beings from living in this society. Oppression was supposed to be a past practice, but now, one man can sign a piece of paper and force you to accept a needle in your arm. But nobody seems to recognize this. Like cows smiling as they are led to the slaughterhouse, they willingly accept this. And if the government can do this, what else can they do? We have all been fed lies, and it is time to set the record straight. We need a revolution of knowledge. The knowledge that has vanished, suppressed deep under years of disinformation. My mission is to spread this knowledge. The truth that we do not hear these days. The truth that is suppressed by the corporate media, government, and social media. We can change the status quo. With biased so-called fact-checkers and corporate search engines banning unfavorable opinions, it is going to take private funding to overcome this. Subscribing to this channel costs 99 cents a month. And for that $1, you can contribute to spread the knowledge and free exchange of ideas. Get exclusive content that gives you the ammunition you need to change minds. Exclusive content that gives you the accurate history that will show you and others the society we live in is oppressive. Good evening, Patriots. A lot of juicy stuff out there in the world today. So on Saturday, we saw that we did a show, right? For those of you that were there, I did a show live as they were tweeting out the Twitter files. I went through them step by step. We read them out and we discussed them. On Sunday, the mainstream media had nothing to say about it. So what does that tell you? Well, if you're a fan of history, you know that the reason that Richard Nixon got into so much trouble with Watergate wasn't because of what he did. It was because what if he tried to do to cover it up, right? So cover up was the problem. So I think this is just complete opinion, right? I think the mainstream media learned from that and government learned from that. So they're not going to lie about it. They're not going to hide it. They're just going to not report on it. They're going to not discuss it. They're going to not talk about it at all. So this is Ryan Samuels. This is the Ryan Samuels Show. Guys, leave comments in the comments. Posted a link in there show at any point tonight and discuss this situation or any situation we can talk about. It's there. You don't have to give your real name. You don't even have to be on video. But if you'd like to discuss something, especially the trolls who want to talk crap in the comments and never want to come on the show, I'd love for one of you to call in. I think that would be the greatest day. David, good evening. All right, man. Matt Spears, great guy. I assume you're here because you saw me on the show. Man, those guys are great. I had a blast.
I'm really happy with the way they do their show. They're very honest, very fair, very objective, and that's kind of how I like to feel myself to be. So I had a great time. Thanks for stopping in, man. I appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Guys, if you want to get notified of all my live videos, make sure you hit that little bell at the top and get notified of live videos. I don't go live every day. It's usually 2 or 3 times a week. So it's cut off. It's few and far between. So, but when you hit that button, you'll get notified when I go live, and you'll get notified when I finish going live. So you can watch it. Also, subscribe to the Ryan Samuel Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's everywhere. Just Google it. It's everywhere. So back to the Twitter files, part 2. Fox News is the only one reporting on this, right? And we assume that, right? Fox News is a right-leaning organization, not even right-leaning. They're a right-wing organization. They're a right-wing media organization. So let's see what they had to say. Let me pull this up here with my new handy dandy software. So let's see what they had to say about the news not reporting on this. Correct. Is there no sound? Okay, like I said, I'm working on a new software. I could work that kink out. However, what they're saying is that there were on Sunday there was only 7 seconds of the reporting after this big story. Now, this is a huge story. You got you got everybody downplaying this. Okay, I want you guys to understand that people downplaying this is just it's not real. This is an actual story. This is a huge story. Um, Elon Musk disclosed emails, and I have them here. We don't need the sound for that. We don't need the sound for that video. We can go here, and I can show you. We can go back through the Twitter files when we have a second here. So Elon Musk came out and released all of these emails between government officials, right? The Democratic National Party to suppress, ordering Twitter to suppress this information. Now, this is a scandal of all scandals. This is huge. This is one of the biggest violations of free speech that the government is using a proxy to shut down individual citizens, to shut down people speaking freely, questioning people running for office because Biden was still running for president. Now, what does this tell you when nobody's reporting it? Does that mean that not only is this just not limited just to Twitter, right? Is this not limited just to Twitter? Is this happening in the media too? Where they're telling people to report on things and not report on things, that's an even bigger story. If this is what reports If the government is dictating what individual social media sites can regulate, and if the government is dictating what stories the news reports or doesn't report. I mean, that is probably one of the largest scandals in the history of scandals, if that's true. That means that it's not a conspiracy, right? So, do we know that they're doing it with Twitter? Yes, 100%. We know that. We saw it. We saw the emails. We saw them target James Woods, who's now suing them to shut them down. We saw the emails. We saw it go back and forth between politicians and Twitter executives. Politicians instigating the conversation to remove content they didn't like. So the failure for the mainstream media to report on this lets you come to a conclusion, right? Without basis. I'm saying this is without basis, even though we all feel in our hearts that it's true. We're not seeing it, but we did see it with Twitter, right? We saw the actual sources. So we saw the actual sources with Twitter, and now we see the media just silent, just not saying anything. Why? Why wouldn't you report on it, even if you were gonna knock it down and try to invalidate it? Why wouldn't you say something about it? But 7 seconds, the day after it is released, I don't know. My radar is up on that one. Um, so the Twitter files. Let's just go over them again so we can see. Hold on, let me set this up and make sure that this works. Put this here. Bada bing. Bada boom. Okay. Let me just zoom in so we can read these together again. So the Twitter files, the Twitter thread on December 2nd, which was Saturday. So the first like four are a preamble, and it's just saying, yeah, in its early conception, then lived up to its mission statement, giving poor people the power to create and share ideas, information instantly without barriers. But then he goes down to number 8, and this is the most telling one, right? By 2020, requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write another, more to review from the Biden team. So the Biden team is actively reviewing what people are posting on Twitter. They're going through the Biden team to see if they want certain things posted and they want some things not posted. That's incredible. Let's go down to more. Celebrities and unknowns alike, so it didn't matter who you are, could be reviewed at the behest of a political party. Now, notice what they're saying here, right? I consider myself a conservative, but I want you to notice what they're saying here. Celebrities and unknowns alike could be removed or reviewed at the behest of a political party. That means the government. It doesn't matter what side you're on. That means the government, right? They add to that a little bit. Both parties had access to these tools. For instance, 2020 requests from both the Trump White House and the Biden campaign were received and honored. However, this system wasn't balanced. It was based on contacts because Twitter was and is overwhelmingly staffed by one political orientation. There were more channels, more ways to complain, open to the left. And then they post. I'll open this up. Then they post what they donated to the Democrats and what Democrats donate to Twitter and Republicans donate to Twitter. Substantially more. And, we hear this. X out of that. We hear this time and time again that conservatives are the party of big business, that they're the big, rich, fat CEOs. But yet, big tech, big business donates to Democrats more than they do to conservatives. So who is the party of big business? Who is the party of government interfering with business? Do conservatives want government controlling business policies, labor policies, taxes with business? Or do conservatives want government out of business and out of the way so we can live our lives freely? So this is just one of the examples of Twitter. If you look at Apple, it's the same thing. If you look at Google, it's the same thing. And if you look at the behavior of Twitter versus the behavior of Google or Apple, you see certain patterns, certain things not reported on, certain things taken down. Now, you see this on Facebook too. But what Facebook does is the way that, hold on, let me get a better view here. All right. So the way that Facebook does it, like, we'll scroll down to this in a minute. The way that Facebook does this is they don't ban you if they post something you don't like. Now, if you post something that goes against the community standard, you'll go to Facebook jail, you'll get suspended. But posting this on Twitter was not a violation of the community standards. They tried to say it was against hacked materials policy. Then they go on to talk about they send the emails of Twitter members like arguing against this. Like, listen, they're not saying that they are saying that it's wrong, but the way they're communicating it is, hey, this isn't enough. We don't have a leg to stand on. We need to find another reason, right? Because the hacked the hacked policy just didn't cut the mustard. And this is a story where Hunter Biden brought his laptop into a computer shop, and all of this information was released. Was it hacked? No. I mean, so they treated this the same way that they would treat child pornography, is what they go on to say again, that it was that egregious that any mention of it, number one, any sight of it, number two, or even in an instant message, if you instant messaged it to somebody, they would rip it down immediately, and they would ban you for posting or talking about it. Facebook does something a little bit more sneaky. And disclaimer, because I'm on Facebook, Facebook has been very fair to me as far as I know. If they weren't, I would never know. And I would tell you why I would never know, because if I posted something they didn't like or want to see, they would bring it down the timeline so nobody would see it, right? So I'll post something that's got 20,000 likes because it's not really that controversial. Then I'll post something that's got 100 likes, like within the same time frame, different day, like the following Monday at the same time. So that's a massive difference between 20,000 followers hitting it, 18,000 shares, 10,000 comments, and then I'll post something separately the next day. Who knows? My meme could just suck, but that's what I'm saying. So Facebook is more sneaky about it. You would never know. So Mark Zuckerberg went on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he talked about this on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he talked about this exact tactic, right? And how they do it. That they do what's called shadow banning, where there's no way you can know and there's no way to prove it unless somebody would leak it. So he admitted this on the Joe Rogan Experience. He talked about the Hunter laptop story, that the FBI came to him and said it was a matter of national security, but they didn't just rip it down. They just brought it down in the timeline, so people would never see it. They would never hear the story. Even me, I don't even have I have a great following. I love all of you, but I have about 70,000 people. There are people out there with 2, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million followers. If you posted a story like this, you'd get maybe 100 hits. Those guys are normally getting 100,000 hits. So again, it's just something you would never know. So the question is, and maybe you guys can put this in the comments and let me know your feelings. Do you feel that the government is equally influencing media outlets, search engines, big business to suppress information? Or do you feel that this is limited only to Twitter? while you guys type, I'm going to keep scrolling. So this is who broke the story. Yes, Cheryl, thank you. I appreciate that. I happen to agree with you just from feeling and looking at the patterns between the two. So the basis of this story broke from the New York Post. Now, another piece of information you have to understand is the New York Post is not some person sitting on Twitter posting information that's not credible. The New York Post is a legitimate news organization. Some people hate the New York Post. They don't like them. I don't like the New York Times, but the New York Times is a legitimate news organization, even though its legitimacy is based on its legitimacy is based on a left-wing ideology. So they have slanted views. It's all opinionated. So some of it is an opinion where they find facts to support the opinion and ignore facts that disrupt their opinion. That's not good journalism, but it is a legitimate news organization. The New York Post is no different. The New York Post broke this story. David, I feel, and it's just my opinion, that the government is going to all kinds of meeting news medias and telling them to suppress anything so it will match their agenda. That's the conclusion a lot of people are coming to because of what was released on Twitter and the fact that nobody else is talking about it. 7 seconds of coverage after the biggest break in government suppressing free speech in United States history. 7 seconds the next day from major news outlets other than, of course, Fox News, who's going to jump all over this, right? So on October 14th, the New York Post published Biden's secret emails and exposed based on the contents of Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop. So there's a difference between hacking his laptop and if he abandons his laptop. If he checks it into a computer store and you go in and you sign a piece of paper, there are disclosures. I don't know if this instance there was a normal disclosure, whether or not you abandon it becomes property of the store. I don't know. But typically, if you go to a pawn shop and you're like, hey, I'm going to leave my phone here and I'm going to come back and pick it up, and you don't come back, you abandoned it. So then it becomes the property of the store, which is why the store never had any legal repercussion for this. This is why the New York Post didn't get busted for, blowing up U.S. secret intelligence to the country, right? Because he abandoned it. The guy's got some problems. He's clearly addicted to drugs. Joe Biden has stated that himself. But there were some seriously incriminating things on that laptop that was a major concern for the country. One of them was the 10% to the big guy. Who's the big guy? Right? He had all these dealings with Ukraine, and then all of a sudden Biden gets elected. We're at war with Ukraine. Right? So there's a lot of coincidental things that are not connected by evidence. But, human beings, human nature, we start to connect those on our own, right? If there is nothing to connect, we start jumping to conclusions. And sometimes we're completely right. With Twitter, we were completely right. Like, we knew it. But now it's a fact. So let's see here. Let me go back to this one. Yeah. Twitter took extraordinary steps to suppress the story, removing links and posting warnings that it may be unsafe. They even blocked its transmission via direct message, a tool reserved for extreme cases like child pornography. That's what we were saying earlier. White House spokeswoman Kayla McEnany was locked out of her Twitter account for tweeting about the story, prompting a furious letter from the Trump campaign staffer Mike Hahn, who seethed, "At least pretend to care," for the next 20 days. Now, Kaylee was she was the voice for the President of the United States. She was the voice for the President of the United States. She held press conference and spoke on behalf of the President of the United States. So the emails are showing the Democratic Party suppressing information they didn't want seen through Twitter, including shutting down a sitting president, Donald Trump. I don't care what you think about the guy, and Kayla. So the Democratic Party pulled all those strings through the back door. Here's the email that they said at least pretend to care for the next 20 days. This led public policy executive Caroline Storm to send out a polite, I'm going to keep it clean tonight, a polite WTF query. Several employees noted that there was tension between the comms and policy teams who had a little less control over the moderation. Let me open up this photo. Hi, team. Are you able to take a closer look here? You know, so the story of this, how all of this came about, was from former Twitter employees who saved these emails. So I guarantee you, when Elon Musk took over Twitter, he did not. Twitter did not keep all of their emails that would incriminate them. They deleted them. I'm sure of it. Maybe not. I could be wrong. But that's not where these came from, right? These came from former Twitter employees providing these emails. Although several sources recalled hearing about a general warning from federal law enforcement that summer about possible foreign hacks, there's no evidence that I've seen that any government involvement in the laptop story, in fact, have been the problem. The decision that was made at the highest levels of the company, but without the knowledge of the CEO, Jack Dorsey, with former legal policy and trust, they got such weird names. Vajahi Gadi, sure, playing a key role. So they intentionally left the CEO out of this, and I don't know why. From what the source is saying, but I'm sure there was a reason. They just freelanced it, is how one former employee characterized the decision. Hacking was the excuse, but within a few hours, pretty much everyone realized that wasn't going to hold. So they knew the hacking part was just an excuse. They had to find some policy that related to the laptop that they could justify shutting down the spread. And they decided to go with hacking because he abandoned his laptop and left it for anybody to have, anybody to open, anybody to keep, by abandoning it. Hacking was the excuse, but within a few hours, pretty much everyone realized that wasn't going to hold. But no one had the guts to reverse it. So if you realize it wasn't going to hold, if you realize it's not a true violation of the company policy, then what you should do is come out and say, after further review, we've investigated that this does not violate our community standards, and click. Take the block off and let it fly. But they didn't do that. Number 25, you can see the confusion in the following lengthy exchange, which ends up including Gadi and former Trust and Safety Chief Yoel Roth, comms official. Trenton Kennedy writes, I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for marking this unsafe. Trenton Kennedy, I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for marking this unsafe. And I think the best explainability argument for this externally would be that we're waiting to understand if this story is the result of hacked materials. We'll face hard questions on this, even if we don't have some kind of solid reasoning for marking the link unsafe. And then look, they have a Fox News. Will we also mark similar stories unsafe? Fox News. Of course you will. Anything that has to do that goes against the Biden team and the Biden agenda, this is what deep state is. This is what the deep state looks like, right? All right. By this point, everyone knew this was effed, said one former employee, but the response was essentially to err on the side of continuing to err. The policy basis is hacked materials, though, as discussed, this is an emergent situation where the facts remain unclear. Given the severe risks here and the lessons of 2016, We're erring on the side of including a warning and preventing this content from being amplified. From being amplified means they're preventing it from being spread. They're suppressing this real legitimate information that came off the president's son laptop at the behest of the Democratic Party, at the government. Government officials are silencing anyone on Twitter who decides to spread this information. That's a you do not get any more black and white of the violation of free speech. Where's my mouse? There it is. The former VP of Global Comms, Brandon asked, can we truthfully claim that this is part of the policy? New. To Land's point, we can truthfully claim that this is part of the policy? Question mark. As part of our approach to addressing potential hacked materials, we are limiting visibility of related stories on Twitter while our investigation is ongoing. To which former Deputy General Counsel Jim Baker again seems to advise staying on the non-course because caution is warranted. The fundamental problem with tech companies and content moderation, many people in charge of speech care little about speech and have to be told the basics by outsiders. Come on, baby. Clear her up out of the way. In one humorous exchange on day one, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna reaches out to Gad to gently suggest he hop on the phone to talk about a backlash re-speech. Khanna was the only Democratic official I could find in the files who expressed concern. Generating huge on-hill re-speech. Happy to chat if you're up for it. Best, Ro. I mean, why are they so intimate with these politicians? Like that's a problem, right? I think we can all agree on that. They shouldn't be in communication with these people about anything that's on there. Gaddy replies quickly, immediately diving into the weeds of Twitter policy, unaware Khanna is more worried about the Bill of Rights. Hi, Congressman Khanna. Thank you for reaching out, and we appreciate the heads up. We put out a clarifying thread of tweets earlier this evening explaining how our policy around the posting of private information and linking directly to hacked emails. The press secretary's account was not permanently suspended. We requested that she delete the tweet. We requested that she delete the tweet containing material that is the violation of our rules, and her account is restricted until she replies. The press secretary for the president of the United States. Again, guys, if you want to chime in, if you want to come on the show, click the link below. You can come in. You don't have to use your real name. We can hide your face if you want to ask questions or have a conversation. I'd be happy to jump on the phone if helpful. Code word. Anytime anybody says that, I'd be happy to jump on the phone if helpful. That means I don't want to email about this. My team in DC, Jessica and Lauren, are copied here and also available to discuss. Khanna tries to reroute the conversation to the First Amendment mention, of which is generally hard to find in the files. But this seems a violation. This seems a violation of the First Amendment principles. If there is a hack of classified information or other information that could expose a serious war crime and the NYT was to publish it, I think the NYT should have that right. A journalist cannot be held accountable for the illegal actions of the source unless they actively aided the hack. So to restrict the distribution of that material, especially, this is from a Democrat, especially regarding a presidential candidate, seems not in the keeping of the principles of NYT v. Sullivan, Supreme Court case. I say this as a total Biden partisan and convinced he didn't do anything wrong. But the story now has become more about censorship than relatively innocuous emails, and it becomes a bigger deal than it would have been. But it also is now leading to serious efforts to curtail Section 230, many of which would have been a mistake. I believe Twitter itself should curtail what it recommends or puts in trending news. And your policy against QAnon groups is all good. But in the heat of a presidential campaign, restricting dissemination of newspaper articles, even if the New York Post is a far right, seems like it will invite more backlash than it will do good. Please keep this communication between us and Jack. No need to CC or forward this to the team. So the Democrats are saying this is a violation of free speech, but Twitter doesn't care. One Democrat, not all of them, but Twitter does not care, right? Within a day, ahead of the public policy, Lauren Culberson receives a ghastly letter report from Carl Szabo of the research firm NetChoice, which had already polled 12 members of Congress, 9 R's, and 3 Democrats from the House Judiciary Committee. And we got a reply in the mists here. Szabo reports to Twitter that some Hill figures are characterizing the laptop stories as text access Hollywood moment. The First Amendment isn't absolute. Szabo's letter contains chilling passages relaying Democratic lawmakers' attitudes. They want more moderation. And as for the Bill of Rights, it's not absolute. So before I read this, I'm going to comment on this. Okay. Your rights come from your creator. Okay. The basis of the Bill of Rights is on what is called the natural law theory. The natural law theory is, I'm going to put it as simply and as basic as I possibly can. As long as you're not violating the rights of another person, robbing them, hurting them, killing them, stealing from them, just kind of the same as robbing. As long as you are not violating that individual's right to live freely, then you didn't violate anything. So that's why the Bill of Rights, the very common misconception, and some of you may not know this, the Bill of Rights does not grant you rights. It doesn't give you rights. The Bill of Rights acknowledges rights that already exist, that existed before the Declaration of Independence, that existed all the way back when, since the beginning of time, since the first humans walked the earth, right? You being a human being, if you believe that in God, that's fine, that's great. Even if you don't, if you believe in evolution, they're granted to you because you're a human being, and they can never be taken away. So they are absolute. Right? They're absolute to the point where you're not infringing on somebody else. The Second Amendment is your right to defend yourself. Where that stops is when you hurt somebody else with a firearm when you weren't defending yourself. That's where it stops. So the only time a Bill of Rights stops is when it encroaches on somebody else's rights. This laptop story does not encroach on anybody's rights. The Democrats, meanwhile, complain that the companies are inept. They let conservatives muddy the water and make the Biden campaign look corrupt, even though Biden is innocent. They linked this to Hillary Clinton's email scandal. She did nothing wrong. Oh, God. She did nothing wrong, but because the press wouldn't let the story go, it became a scandal far out of proportion in their mind. Social media is doing the same thing. It doesn't moderate enough harmful content. So when it does, like it did yesterday, it becomes a story. If the companies moderate more, conservatives wouldn't even think to use social media for disinformation, misinformation, or otherwise. The muddied waters are between what the left defines as disinformation. Disinformation and misinformation is anything that goes against their generated opinion. Anything that the left, if it goes against their beliefs, then that is automatically disinformation. Anywhere, with any discussion of with anybody on the left. Go again with the emails. We see how. Yeah, I I see that too, Kevin. Let's see here. It became a scandal for it. That the Democrats are in agreement. Social media needs to moderate more because they're corrupting the democracy and making all truth relative. When pushed on how the government might insist on that, consistent with the First Amendment, they the First Amendment isn't absolute. Yes, it is. Right. So the First Amendment is absolute until it violates the rights of another. So if I slander you and I say everybody you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, I call your employer, I tell them you're stealing from the company, I'm making up a whole bunch of stuff, and that violates your rights, and you lose your well-being. That's a problem. X out of this. An amazing subplot of the Twitter Hunter Biden laptop affair was how much was done without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey, and how long it took for the situation to get uneffed, as an ex-employee put it, even after Dorsey jumped in. The memes are hilarious. The mainstream media when Elon drops the Hunter Biden laptop cover up. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. Remember that video? This one? You guys can't hear it, but let's go back up and scroll more down the feed. So I think that was it. Now, Elon has promised that there's more to come from this. So I guess time will tell, and we will find out. Is there more to come from this? Just keep in mind that this is just the Hunter laptop scandal. That's all this is. This has nothing to do with Donald Trump and why he was banned for the insurrection. This has nothing to do with the thousands and thousands of people that they shut down. Now, I said this in the last show, and this is real. You know, guys like me are heavily invested in podcasts. We're heavily invested. Some of us, not me, will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on their podcast to use on these social medias. So now, just as we talked about the Bill of Rights, the biggest thing you need to take away is that the right to a free press is granted to the individual, right? The Bill of Rights recognizes rights that are to the individual. So freedom of the press is for an individual. Freedom of the press is not for freedom of CNN or freedom of Fox News or a corporation or a business. It is granted to the individual. So that's why it's wrapped up in all in the First Amendment, speech in the press. So that is it's a little fun fact there. Little bit of a fun fact. So, in other news, I have been on Truth Social, Twitter, Facebook. I've been everywhere today. Everybody's talking about Donald Trump said that we need to outlaw the Constitution or something. Anybody hear that? Anybody hear Donald Trump saying that we need to do that? I'm going to try to pull this up and see if I can find the Truth Social tweet, because it is such a gross, from what I understand, unless there's another tweet somewhere or truth. From what I understand, it is a complete just nonsense from what he actually meant. From what I see, it's completely taken out of context. I'll try to find a photo of it so I can pull it up. Of course, the media is all over this. They're all over this. Donald Trump said we need to take down the Constitution because, oh God, accept. All right, we need to take down the Constitution. I'm going to pull this up right now. Bingo. Here it is. Let me scroll down. Liz Cheney. Okay. So this is what he said, and everybody's accusing him of saying we need the Constitution away. So with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud, a deception in working closely with big tech companies, and the Democratic Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner? Or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great fathers did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. Okay. So let me maximize this so we can have it right there. So here's the thing about the 2020 election. If you guys saw the story I did, it was called one of my podcasts called The Red Wave, where we were talking about the 2020 election, and we were talking about exactly what they did. And Matt and I talked about this. Matthew Spear on Don't Unfriend Me, another podcast, talked about this. David, the left-wing news media is always taking Donald Trump's words out of context and are not saying the whole statement, such as Charlottesville. Yes, I agree. And that's kind of what they do. But so in this one, they're saying that Donald Trump is saying that, we need to throw out the Constitution and reinstate me as president. That's not what he's saying. All right. So the 2020 election, was it fraud? So for me, I'm very fact-based. I have to connect all of the dots before I come to a decision. Was there opportunity for voter fraud? Yeah, 100%. They gave out 50 million mail-in ballots to people who weren't even registered to vote. So was there the option for that? Yes. Did it definitively happen? The evidence isn't there. Just because the opportunity is there, right, doesn't mean that exactly happened, but it doesn't mean that it didn't either. So we got to get all the pieces for this puzzle and put it together. And that's what I talk about in the Red Wave. And what they did is they changed election laws. In the article in the Red Wave, I talk about it. They influence social media. It's all in that Time article I'm reading in that podcast. So what is Donald Trump saying here? Is Donald Trump saying that we need to throw out the Constitution and reinstate me? Or is he saying, in his opinion, right, and from where he's sitting, he feels that it was absolute fraud, no way around it. He could be right. He could be wrong, right? We don't know. Does it feel that way? Yeah, sometimes. I mean, yeah, sometimes it feels that way, just like Twitter felt that way. But with Twitter, we were proven right. So possibly, we just don't know yet. Or is he saying that from where I'm sitting, this is an absolute fraud, what happened to me? This Twitter revelation shows me and shows the world that we absolutely were cheated out of this election. And the way they cheated opened up a horrible thing for this country. I'm trying to paraphrase what I think he's saying. I could be wrong. That since you did that, you allowed all of these rules to be broken. Um, you allowed for the termination of all rules, regulation, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our founding fathers did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections, right? So, is that what he's saying? What's your guys' opinion? Is he saying that to throw out the Constitution and reinstate me, or is he saying that we the what you guys did opened up a lot of problems and violated a lot of rules and threw out the Constitution yourself? Let me know in the comments. But that was just my 2 cents that I've been seeing a lot of um, over the past couple of days on Facebook. Copy this again, put this here. Kanye West also he was just removed from Twitter. I guess Elon had enough. Kanye West is not mentally well. So now he's trying to say, I guess he went on Alex Jones in a ski mask or something and tried to say that he likes Hitler. I would play the video for you, but obviously I haven't figured it out on this software yet. That he likes Hitler and Hitler invented the microphone. This guy is not mentally well. He never has been. Kanye West was not. He wasn't that mentally well back when he supported Barack Obama, and he stood at Katrina with Mike Myers at the fundraiser and said, "George Bush doesn't care about black people." The guy is not well. So, what Donald Trump is doing, having dinner with him, I'll never understand. I would distance myself from that guy if I were Donald Trump, because you never know what's going to happen. And look what happened. Kanye West brought Nick Fuentes on, who's brought Nick Fuentes to a dinner, supposedly unknown to Donald Trump. I don't know for a fact. Maybe we talked about this on Don't Unfriend Me. So, is that? I don't know. It looks really bad for Donald. I'm not going to lie. He needs to figure out a way to, and he's denounced white supremacy, 300 and something times. But when half of the country, not me, I don't think he's a Nazi, but when half of the country thinks you're a Nazi, you really need to do something to make people believe you're not, right? If half of the country believes that you are, I mean, that's a huge voter base you're missing, more than the actual Nazis who may get you more votes. I mean, again, I don't know. He said that he didn't know he was there. He came out with a press release and said that he doesn't believe in any of that stuff, blah 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 blah. But they're gonna keep pushing that until the 2020 election. That's exactly what is what's going to happen. So I'm going to peruse the news a little bit. Anybody has any comments or questions about the show, you can click the link in the comments and come on and we can talk. If you have any questions for me about anything, same thing. I'll go to politics here. Politics. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm on CNN Politics. I don't see anything about Twitter story anywhere. Yeah, except of this. I don't see it anywhere. Let me put this. We bring the zoom in. All right, open that. Go here, share the screen. Yeah, I don't. A lot of Herschel Walker. Paul Pelosi attends Kennedy Center honors first public appearance. Nothing. It's a media blackout on this Twitter thing, and it's so obvious. I think foods. Jesus. I Kanye West also went on who was it? Tim Pool's podcast and then stormed off because he had an opinion. What the hell was that? Something in my drink there. So Kanye West went on Alex Jones, talked about how he loved Hitler. He also went on to Tim Pool's podcast and wanted to accuse the Jews of running the media. And Tim Pool basically said, listen, I can't say that it's them. I do think that the media treats you unfairly. And then he got mad and stormed off the set. Now, Nick Fuentes was there with him, right? So I guess Nick Fuentes and Kanye West are hanging out. They're boys. They're friends right now. Kanye is not mentally ill. Nick Fuentes, who really nobody knew who the hell he was until he started hanging out with Kanye, is taking advantage of Kanye's mental instability in order to get his message out, which is insane because if Kanye thinks Hitler's a great guy, I don't think you would have made it in Nazi Germany, Kanye. I don't know why that the Aryan Brotherhood wouldn't accept you with open arms. Even in prison, they wouldn't accept you. If you went to prison, they would want nothing to do with you. They're not. That's not the kind of people that they are. They're not accepting and open people. They're Nazis. They're freaking morons. But anybody who's a conservative is labeled a Nazi every day of their life, no matter what. No matter what. Just because you're a conservative, they think you're a Nazi. And the left side of politics never really has anything to say other than you're a Nazi. You're a bootlicker. That's my favorite one. You're a bootlicker. Like, nah, bro, you're a bootlicker. You're licking communist boots. How Democrats' new primary calendar. Let's go to Google News and see. So Trump's call for termination of the Constitution. I'm not seeing that language there anywhere. Am I missing something? Does anybody know about something else he said that I don't know, that I didn't see? Because I thought they were talking about that one truth he put out. I mean, nothing. I'm 3 pages deep in Google. It's Monday. Sunday, you could kind of get away with it and say, well, we don't really report on the news on Sunday because everybody's off. But now it's Monday, and you're still not talking about the Twitter files. So that's my conclusion. I do feel that is exactly what's happening in our country. I think the government is way too involved in our media. I think that they're way too involved in our government. I think that that is true. I think it's happening.
My name is Ted.
Well, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the Ryan Samuel Show. I will leave you with this. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Let's get this message out. Let's get conservative voices out and help boost the algorithm. That's the best thing you can do. So when Facebook is shadow banning conservatives, you need to like it, you need to comment on it, and you need to share it. That's how you jailbreak shadow banned, is when you just keep sharing it, sharing it, sharing it. It's going to break through it being kept down because just too many people are down. So thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time.
Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a bitch who is celebrating God, family, country, and the success column of working hard, playing hard Americans. He's a conservative blogger who would love you to subscribe and visit his website. It's RyanFSamuels.com. Ryan F. Sam. A promotion for this Facebook page and a subscription to his blog is what I'm here to do. Because if he's contacted me, he's probably rock solid in the asset column, and you ought to join him at Ryan, R-Y-A-N-F, like in Fatuma, Samuels.com. RyanFSamuels.com. Uncle Ted reporting for duty. It's going to be the greatest hunting season of my life because I work hard and I play hard and I hunt hard and I live a hard American dream. It's perfect. Godspeed, Ryan. Live it up. RyanFSamuels.com. I'm going to go there and visit. Sounds like my kind of campfire.